Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is Paul Flynn of the McGill.Review.com for the 5th of November, 2016. Just want to comment briefly, or as briefly as possible, on today is the 5th of November, and there's been protests across the world in various different cities, and RT have a report here. I'm just going to comment on it briefly, but just to talk about the use of the Guy Fawkes mask.
People in hundreds of cities across the world are taking part in mass rallies planned by the global protest group Anonymous. The day of action is called the Million Mask March. It's uniting those protesting against the violation of online privacy as well as corporate greed and corrupt governments. Protesters wearing those Guy Fawkes masks are demonstrating their allegiance with the Anonymous hacktivist group, infamous for its online anti-government actions. One of the biggest rallies is underway in Washington, D.C. RT's Gunpowder joined the protesters there.
Here in Washington, you have different protest groups marching under the umbrella of the Anonymous. They protest different things. They protest what they see as a police state. They protest against the persecution of whistleblowers. They protest against Monsanto, the world's biggest producer of genetically modified.
Okay, so you get the idea, and these protests are going around the world. Anonymous releases kind of videos, and they don't really see themselves as being a central organization. They're just kind of more of an idea, I suppose, and there's lots of different people. The Guy Fawkes mask is kind of, yeah, you kind of get the idea, and I think people have seen their videos. Just a comment on the use of the Guy Fawkes mask. It got popular. I don't remember being popular before V for Vendetta came out years ago, and it kind of, well, it romanticized, there's no kind of about it, romanticized the idea of a terrorist blowing up Parliament. And what is the real history of Guy Fawkes? Now, I think people will say, well, does it even matter? But can truth matter? You see, people are now going around, even in the movie, a movie, V for Vendetta, glorified a terrorist. This is very dangerous. I know from being in Ireland, any kind of political ideology can be attached to any terrorist organization. And then, for example, when anybody points out the murderous rampages of the IRA or any other Republican group, well, they can just blame the British. It's the aggressors, etc., and so on. Islam, whenever ISIS goes around killing people, well, just blame the French or blame the Germans or blame any other country that they're in, or just blame the oppressors. It's the other side. This kind of justification, it is dangerous, it's sinful, it's evil, it's wrong. But who was Guy Fawkes? Guy Fawkes was a Jesuit coadjutor who was involved in the Gunpowder plot of 1604. Many kind of see him as I suppose, this kind of mythology that's kind of built around this film as a kind of a freedom fighter and things like that. But why was he working with the Jesuits? He was a Spanish soldier working with Jesuit priests. I'll just get the list of them here. He was working with Garnet, Greenway, Old Corn, and Guy Fawkes himself, who was a soldier in the service of Philip of Spain. Now, Guy Fawkes wasn't a Jesuit, but he was a Jesuit coadjutor. The Jesuits were involved in the attempt to blow up Parliament not too long after the announcement, James I was a Protestant, and also that they would, it was 1605, not 1604. 1604 is when they began to translate King James translation of the scriptures. Interesting coincidence that would happen. 1 year later, with all the members of Parliament and King James himself in there, they try to blow him up and kill him. Not something that the Jesuits are involved in, you might say. Well, Henry Garnet, who was arrested, confessed to this crime. He said on April 4th, 1605, and this is, at least from what the book I'm reading, was in the public records, the original manuscript was in public records at the time, I, Henry Garnet of the Society of Jesus, priest, do here freely protest before God that I hold the late intention of the powder action to have been altogether unlawful and most horrible, as well as in respect of the injury and treason of His Majesty the Prince and others who should have been sinfully murdered at that time, as also in respect to infinite other innocents, which should have been present. I also protest that I have ever of opinion that it was unlawful to attempt any violence against the King's Majesty and the estate, and etc. and so on. So he admits that Henry Garnet, who was a Jesuit, later by Cardinal Bellarmine, seen as a martyr. Cardinal Bellarmine was a major Counter-Reformation Jesuit who wrote a lot of works during that time. Anyway, long and short, just to give you a bit of information, that mask is a mask Guy Fawkes, probably one of the most famous terrorists before the modern era. Would we really want to imagine, if you will, one of the ISIS fighters who goes and tries to, just say he tries to, I don't know, blow up one of the government buildings, and then hundreds of years later, this person who at least attempted and trying, say he was stopped at the last minute or something like that, and hundreds of years later, there's a mask made of this man. And this man who attempted to kill many people is now being seen as, look, I understand Anonymous is great. Lots of the things that they are against, I'm also against as well. The corruption and things like that. And I think, I like a lot of the videos that Anonymous brings out. They're a little bit socialist and a lot of the different things like that. But what I'm getting at here is the use of the mask Guy Fawkes. Let us never glorify in any way terrorism or somebody who attempted to kill the king and his subjects. What's got to be understood here? There's got to be legitimate use of, can we go against this corruption and things like that in the system and all that? Yes, but through terrorism, no. This has been Paul Flynn. May God bless you all.